Hello, everybody. This is Catholic Dad, episode number 51. Um, Young people will be annoyed. And so, why are young people going to be annoyed? And I was thinking about this today because we're living in a time that's very unusual and weird to me, and it's starting to become apparent to pretty much everybody that our culture is breaking down. Now, where does the word culture come from? The word culture comes from cultivate. And so, when you cultivate things in your garden, what are you actually doing? You're planting seeds, you're watering, you're tending, you're nursing things, and you're trying to make it so things germinate and they grow plants, and these plants grow fruits for your own self benefit or for your benefit, and the benefit of those who you associate with, and that's how a garden works. And so when you're cultivating things, you're doing your best to shape them in good ways, and shape them in good ways for the best possible outcome in the future. You know, if you plant in the spring and you harvest in the fall, it takes many, many, many months of hard work, weeding, and cultivation to create a product where you actually reap the rewards. Well, that's the same thing as culture. When you have a culture, you work very, very hard on forming society, forming laws, self-analyzing yourself, making yourself better, clinging to your spouse, and growing children and family units to create a culture. And the culture yields something, and it yields something beneficial for all people in the future, as long as the culture is formed using right reason. And I must say, you know, in the past, 10 years in America, or 20 years, or 30 years, whatever it is, but I would say society is way different than when I was a small child. Back then, families were normal. You know, it was acceptable to have mother, father, and children. It was unacceptable to do all these wonky behaviors, and I think everybody knows what I'm talking about, that are now normalized. And it seems like all the abnormal that was 20 years ago is now normalized. And if you actually sit there and you look at it and call it abnormal, then you are persecuted by the population, which would make me think that our culture is dying. Our culture is dying, and it's not going to yield good fruit in the short term. But I've been noticing that young people, and when I say young people, I'm talking early 20s. They're starting to they're acting like they're being ripped off by the way that they were raised, by the way the culture is formed, and they're starting to realize there has to be something more than normalizing the abnormal. And I had a young woman tell me the other day. She said, you know, as we march along, it doesn't seem like there's anything holding humans together anymore. Like, we don't have anything bonding us together. And by the way, this is somebody who's a verified bona fide atheist and agnostic. And she said to me, she said, it's almost like we're rats, right? And we have plenty of food right now, and we're just going around doing rat things. But when that food goes away, we're going to start devouring each other. And so, yeah, if you don't have a culture directing you to proper form, and to trying to cultivate goodness in the future for everybody involved, when the food supply grows short, you devour each other because you reduce yourselves to your lower appetites. When everything that's abnormal is normalized, and everything that is normal is abnormalized, and then the future, the fruits that are born from this are not very nutritious. They're not productive. They're not life sustaining. And so I think in the culture that I see in the world, at least what I see going on in the major media, that if any kind of catastrophe happens, food supplies are interrupted for a week, or or we go to a major war, or the lights go out, or there's a bombing, or something like that, it seems to me that people have lost the glue that holds them together, the ability to cultivate one another, to create good things in the future. And it may be that, yeah, we're turning into a bunch of lower animals that aren't bound to each other based upon the dignity of each other, but instead we're just celebrating all our wants or mores or wills. Essentially, we're acting like animals. When all the abnormal is normalized, then we act like animals and do whatever, we scratch every itch that we have. And so I think the younger people in the world are waking up based upon what I've seen. The feeling that there has to be something more to this life other than doing whatever the heck we want at any point in time, not grabbing responsibility, not going out and forming families with each other, not creating a culture for children that is best for their cultivation, to create formation where they become stewards of goodness and culture in the future, where they can pass it on to their children and the following generation as well. And so I'm hoping the younger generation, from what I've been seeing, latches on to a good idea, throws their shoulders back, and develops courage where they can actually step into the face of the abnormal and say, that's abnormal, and don't blink, and just say, that's the way it is. I'm not going to live that way. I'm not going to agree with you, and I will stand in the face of what you say, and I will not violate my moral conscience, and I will do what it takes to rebuild the culture today. And so I hope the young people take their anger and turn it to good things. I hope the older burned out hippie generation realizes what they did. And I'm not just blaming them, by the way. You know, you can't blame any one generation, but the burned out hippie generation, boy, they're probably looking back going, what the heck did we do? Yeah, you ruined a lot of things, you did. And so that's Catholic Dad signing in. I think the young people are going to be angry, but I hope they put it to good use. And so God bless you. Get the Mass, pray the daily rosary. Good night.